In this episode, we're going to make a clamp down board using this T-track kit that I purchased. So it comes with one T-track, two clamp downs. Now it didn't come with the screws, so I had to order some number 6 3/8 inch screws. So we're going to get that started and let's get dirty. Okay, for our T-track, every one of these holes is cut 4 inches on center, except of course the first hole, which is cut at 2 inches. So I have a 2-inch space, then I have 4 inches, 4 inches, and I'm going to cut another 2 inches off of the back side. I want to use 3 of these holes, so that will be a 12-inch T-track that I'm going to be using, but I'm going to cut my board at 13 inches. So I have a little space about a half inch on each side where the T-track doesn't butt up against the edge of the board. Now I'm going to be using my Dremel with the grinder bit to cut through this. If you have a grinder, that's great. If not, a hacksaw will cut right through this. So I'm going to get that marked and get it cut. Okay, so I have my two 12-inch pieces of T-track cut. Now I need to rip this piece of plywood. It's a 2 foot by 4 foot, and I need to rip it at 13 inches. I went with a BC. I'm not overly concerned on the face. It's not anything decorative or pretty. It just needs to hold down my wood while I run it through my table saw, the wood that I've cut on my sawmill, just to get the rough edges off. So I'm going to go ahead and rip that now. Okay, so I have my plywood ripped at 13 inches. Now this is a 3/4 inch plywood. Now the T-track is 3/8 of an inch thick by 3/4 of an inch wide. So I put my 3/4 inch router bit on, and I need to cut a couple of grooves at 3/8 of an inch. Now the depth is important because this doesn't come with the screws to mount it. So I ordered some number 6 3/8 inch screws to mount this on. So I need to make sure that I get this exactly at 3/8 of an inch so the points of these screws don't stick out on the bottom of the project and scratch up my table saw. So I'm going to go ahead and set that up to cut now. Now, when finding the depth, the best thing to do is to put your router on the piece you're trying to get the depth of. Now, you just want to adjust it until your router bit hits the flat surface. Okay, so we have the depth set, but what I'm going to do is just grab a piece of sacrificial wood and just run it through real quick, just to make sure that my depth is right on, because I need this like spot on. Okay, so there we go. I ran it through a piece of sacrificial. It is perfectly flush. I couldn't have asked for better. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all torn apart. Now I want to make 2 grooves at about 6 inches from each end. Now in the future, I may have to add another groove in the center, but I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and do 6 inches from each end and get those cuts set up. One thing you may notice when you're cutting through is if your router's struggling to get the cut, you may want to reduce the amount of cut you're doing on your router bit. So just back it out a little bit. Do one pass through on each side at a shallower pass. If it's cutting great, good. And then set your depth after that and do your second pass on each side. So like I said, I'm going to get those cuts set up now and I'll be right back. Okay, so I got my grooves cut and I got the T-track in there. If it gives you any resistance going in, you'll kind of get the feeling you want to hammer it. That's fine, you can. Just be sure you use a piece of sacrificial and hammer it. Don't hit the T-track directly with a hammer. It's just not a good idea. Okay, for the next step, I need to pilot each one of these holes for my screws. So I'm going to use a 5/64 bit, and I'm going to put pilot holes in there. Remember, this did not come with screws for the T-track, so I went ahead and bought the number 6 3/8 inch screws. Hopefully they won't go all the way through. It's going to be really, really close, but I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. So I'm going to go ahead and put these pilot holes in, and I'll be right back. All right, pilot holes are in. I'm going to go ahead and set the screws. Okay, got the 3 screws set. None of them poked out the back side. I'm really happy about that. Go ahead and hit it with some sandpaper, and be right back. Okay, I've got it sanded. I went ahead and feathered all the edges, just so I'm not having to worry about picking slivers out all the time. I'm pretty happy with this so far. I haven't put the clamps on. The only thing I should have done is I should have used a piece of sacrificial at about 3/4 of an inch, because this is 3/4 inch plywood on the ends, because I did get some tear out. If this was a project where it had to be beautiful, I probably would have remembered that. But in this case, it wasn't. So like I said, I got a couple tear outs here. For what it's going to be used for, I can live with that. Okay, let's add the clamp down bars. So we'll slide it in there, throw that on, put a washer on there, and then add the knob. So just trying it out with a piece of 3/4 stock. Yeah, that's really good. Clamps down very well. Okay, so I could add, on the back side, I could add a slider for my table saw, but then I'd have to cut a groove into my outfeed table, and I really don't feel like doing that right now. So I'm just going to be using it with my rip fence, again, just to kind of even out some of the rough cut wood I have from my sawmill. But the applications for this are endless. So like if you have a table, your work table, and it has a 3/4 inch top, then you can cut grooves into that thing all day long and add these into it. So you've always got some sort of clamping device readily available right there on your table. They come with, cross pieces, so you can go all sorts of directions, kind of like train all over the place if you want. Completely up to you. I went small scale. I went 13 inches. Size doesn't matter. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to be notified of new episodes as they become available. Quick shout out to my sponsor. My wife is a Norwex consultant, so if you're interested in chemical-free, sustainable cleaning, go ahead and check out her link. I'll put it in the description. Otherwise, until next time, keep it safe.